Okay, welcome everybody. Sorry for cutting Dolly off a little bit short there, but I'm pretty sure you all know how that one ends. So I'm just going to get started. We'll let the other people come in as and when they do. You obviously don't have your videos or your sound on. You are more than welcome to pop your video on if you would like. The reason I like to do it like this is because if you want to ask me any questions at the end, you can just pop on and ask me if you would like to. Otherwise, we can go the traditional way and you can just pop some questions in the chat as we go. And I'll either answer them as we go along or I will make time for it at the end. So, first of all, thank you very much for coming along. I know that everyone's very busy, so I'm going to make this as smooth as I can. Or I didn't want to say fast, but anyway, look, we're just going to pack in as much as we can so that you can get back to your busy lives. So I guess I'll just start. Now then, let's see if it's going to let me. Here we go. All right, so as I said in some of my comms, the reason that I'm doing this today is because I've had a lot of inquiries lately from people who have said that they're just a bit annoyed or over some of the well-being and performance efforts that they've been putting on or experiencing through their companies. And they felt, some of them said they felt like it was a box ticking exercise. I know that's not how everyone rolls. I know there are a lot of companies out there who truly do want to invest in their people. But in my experience, that people just don't always know exactly the best way to do that. Now, of course, there are many different ways. My way is just my way. But by me explaining to you how I roll and what I believe is important when it comes to well-being and performance for our teams and leaders, then you got some more information. So if you think that that's something that might benefit your guys, then obviously we can have a little bit of a chat, more of a chat. So here's what we're going to talk about in our half an hour today. So we're going to talk about, first of all, the main challenges that we are facing when it comes to leaders and teams in terms of well-being, confidence, and performance. We're also going to talk about how we can actually create real and long-lasting change, so not too much of the band-aiding, so that the leaders and teams can achieve what they want without burning out and while having a good time in the process, because I believe that's incredibly important. And then I'm going to share with you some of the programs and the workshops that I deliver and how they help with all of the things that we would have spoken about before. So without further ado, let's get on to it, she says, clicking on the wrong screen. Here we go. All right, so there's a couple of problems that I foresee at the moment that we're experiencing. So first of all is the general problem that our workforces are becoming increasingly stressed, unhealthy, and unhappy. So I've chucked a few stats there for you because I think that always makes it more relevant. You'll see the first two stats, it's basically 1 in 3, right? So 1 in 3 Australians are experiencing serious levels of distress right now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a mental health issue, they have depression or anxiety. Well, a lot of people do. But what I've found is a lot of people are just under constant stress. They're not working at their optimum. They're just not enjoying things. They're not satisfied, which of course resonates throughout their work and their personal lives. And so that's what we call distress, when someone is stressed or not at their optimum. By the way, the World Health Organization says that mental health is essentially anything that's less than optimum. So this is kind of part of my mission, is to help people see that if you need or want to address something with your mental health, it doesn't mean that you're broken or that there's something wrong with you and you need to be fixed. It just means you're not working at your optimum. And let's face it, how many of us truly are? So that's really what I'm about in saying, if you're not working at your optimum, let's do something about it. And that's where most people sit. And then, of course, you can see 31% of the burden of disease could have been prevented by what we call modifiable risk factors. So things like overweight and obesity, insufficient physical activity, excessive alcohol consumption or smoking. All of these things are actually the major contributors to a lot of our lifestyle-related diseases, of which we are in an epidemic. But as you can see, these are all preventable, but we're still doing them. And so that's why what I am talking about is so important, because we're getting down to the root, to the cause of the issue. And, nice little stat we have at the bottom there in terms of how much absenteeism and presenteeism is costing Australian employers, $10.1 billion a year. Imagine what we could do with even a quarter of that if we were able to truly, help our teams and our leaders with their well-being and their performance. So the second problem, or the next level, is that a lot of the wellbeing and performance solutions that we are experiencing aren't truly getting to the source of the issue. So by that, I mean a few things. So quite often people can be led to believe that it's kind of a one-size-fits-all. So I had a conversation with someone the other day who wanted me to do a workshop for them, and their previous wellbeing workshop ended with the person telling the entire team, who spanned across many different countries, cultures, and sexes and age and all that kind of stuff, told everyone that they should be going on an intermittent fasting diet, and that was the solution for them. Now, yes, that is a solution, but it's not always the best solution for everyone at every time. Same with, the yoga, the meditation. These are really important things, and they are tools within the toolkit, but we need to really be teaching people how to understand themselves and what the tools are, so they can then reach into that toolbox and pick out the tools that they need at any given time. So there's not one size fits all in terms of these surface level solutions, but there is a one size fits all solution in terms of giving people the knowledge, the understanding, and the tools in order to take control and make the decisions that they need to make themselves. And then we've also got, not enough understanding. So I have found in my own personal journey, but also with working with so many people, is that when they truly understand what's going on, so what their body is physically doing, how their brain works, why things are responding the way they're responding, they are much more motivated to do what they need to do to create the change. Because unfortunately, when we're talking about change like this, it doesn't happen overnight. And it's not like it kind of turns up and goes, okay, the change is made now, we can stop doing what we want to do. There's no kind of fanfare and ticker tape parade when these changes happen. So by understanding how change happens, what's happening underneath, that's when people can ride out their need for quick results, and be able to stick with what they need to stick to create that long-lasting change. And of course, then that comes into the not enough motivation, because if they're not getting those results quickly, or not achieving the results they thought they wanted, which was very unrealistic, then they get demotivated, they fall off the wagon and quite often go backwards. And then not enough ownership. So I don't believe that we should be telling people what to do. We can tell them knowledge, we can tell them tools, but within that, we have to be able to empower them to be able to make their own decisions. At some point, they're not going to have the support of whoever they might have, a coach, a personal trainer, whatever. So they need to know what to do to keep things going. Or if they're not getting the results, I see this quite a lot, and I definitely did when I used to own a gym, was if they're not getting their results, they start questioning everything. They start questioning the trainer or the coach again or whatever. Whereas when they've got that understanding, then they can start to see, okay, I get it. This is happening because of this, and now I can do this to help. So they're kind of the sort of overarching problems as I see them. Now, from my point of view, the main solution is to really get, as I said, to the source of things, to understand how the brain fundamentally works. Now, here's the good news. You don't have to be a neuroscientist or, go get another degree in order to understand this. When you're talking about how it fundamentally works and within this context, it's actually incredibly easy to grasp. And that's kind of what I love to do, is help people understand things in a real practical, relatable way. And so as you'll see here, the brain, it drives everything. It is the control center for everything. It is the source of our stress, our anxiety, our overwhelm, our worry, our fear. even the good things. It's the source of everything. So if we truly want to create change, then we got to get to the source, right? And then once we have that, that's when we can get to the source of our behaviors. We can get to the source of our well-being, understand how to create long-lasting health. Okay, let me give you an example before I go on. So as I said, your brain drives everything. I want you to just think for a moment what is happening in your body while I'm talking. So you're breathing, you are blinking, your body is transporting things around your body. If you've just eaten lunch like I have, it's extracting nutrients from what you've just eaten, sending that around the body. It's keeping your blood pumping, your heart pumping, your lungs pumping. Like there's so many stuff that is happening, so much stuff that's happening right now that you're not even aware of. And that's your command center, your brain at work. Now, your brain is also very sensitive to the things that you think, and that can actually drive unhelpful behaviors like fight or flight mode, which causes stress. I won't go into the actual solutions now, but this is just to give you a little bit of an insight into the kind of things that I believe are important and that I talk about. So to summarize this part of this solution, in order to truly create change so that we can have our energy, our motivation, our well-being, our confidence, which is at the core of everything, be able to perform at our peak in all areas of our lives and to enjoy it, as I said, in the process, we got to get to the source, to the brain, but understanding how it fundamentally works. Now, once we know how it works, then we need to understand how to leverage that so that we can indeed optimize our well-being and our performance. Now, one thing I will share about you around how the brain fundamentally works is that its number one priority in life is survival. So everything we think and everything we do is always geared towards protecting us and ensuring we can survive. So even though the world around us has evolved at an amazing rate, our brains, our primal brains haven't. And so that's why fight or flight mode is triggered consistently, and therefore why we are stressed, overwhelmed, doing things that we know we shouldn't, that are bad for our health, but continue to do so. And why there's so many of us in distress is because our brain is constantly thinking it's in danger. Now, our brain doesn't know the difference between real and perceived. So even though it's just the thoughts and the worries that are happening, our brain still sees that as if, someone was cutting you up or someone was running at you with a knife, a physical danger. It still processes them the same way. So that fight or flight mode is still triggered even just through the thoughts and the worries. So once we understand this and we've got the tools to leverage how to make it work a different way, that's when we can really start to create change. So one of the biggest benefits is that we can let go of this need to prove ourselves. Now, in my experience, everyone has this for different reasons. Again, I won't go fully into it right now. But this need that we have to prove ourselves in the world is what creates a lot of these thoughts or worries, because we need to, work hard to show people that we're busy. We need to achieve. We need to be a perfectionist. Sometimes we might procrastinate because of that. Maybe we give too much time, try to do too many things with not enough time. All of these behaviors and the thoughts that come with them, inner critic, imposter, I'm sure you've heard of those. They've got this need to prove ourselves at the source. They're kind of strategies devised by the brain to help us prove ourselves. So once we understand how the brain works, we can start to let go of this need to prove ourselves, because we'll have a lot more confidence. And again, I'll talk to you about that momentarily. So when we've got that confidence, we no longer need these thoughts and these worries that the brain's given us to protect us. So we can let go of them, which lets go of this communication to the brain that we're in danger. And therefore the body calms down. We're not in fight or flight mode. We can operate from our logical brain. We have more energy. We have more happiness. We have more drive, motivation. As you can see at the bottom of the slide, all that good stuff that we're always constantly striving for. And of course, once we're performing like that better personally, we inevitably perform way better professionally. And I think possibly most importantly, it resonates out to our family lives as well. And it kind of sets a precedent for our future generations. So as you probably know, they learn through what they see and through osmosis. So if they can see us, the adults, I'm going to say, like that, because I still don't consider myself an adult. I like to have too much fun. I'm not going in that box. But they see the adults being themselves, having confidence, working towards what they truly want to be working towards. And then they just figure that that's the way life is. And so they then follow suit. So this really does resonate into all areas of our own lives, but also the lives of the people around us. So as I've also said here, you've got greater control over the way that you respond and over the way that you, over your emotions, once you understand how to leverage the way the brain works. And just to sort of reiterate, as a result of that, we can manage and overcome that stress response much more easily, which leads to all the good stuff. All right. So, oh no, I stopped the brain from dancing. And the third thing that I believe we as facilitators, as coaches, as speakers, however we're doing things, I believe that we need to do is to help our audience or the people that we're working with to take consistent and deliberate action. So there's no point in me coming along and saying lots of lovely things to your teams, to your leaders, and then they go off and they go, well, that was really nice, but they don't have anything that they can do to create change. So if we again want to leverage the way the brain works, in order to create change, we have to take consistent action. And as far as I'm concerned, simple, consistent action is the best, because that's the only way that it makes it simple. And as I said at the beginning, we're all very busy. So I don't want to be adding extra workload and filling up people's to-do lists because they're not going to do it. So I believe it's important to just give people simple things that they can do consistently. And then that's what creates the long-term change. And just so you know the background to that a little bit, is through this consistency, our brain will actually form new neural pathways. So our brain will physically change, just as our body changes if we go to the gym a lot and, do lots of squats in order to get a perter bottom. When we do the same things over and over consistently in terms of our behaviors and the way that we think, then our neural pathways are going to change in our brains. And so then that new way of whatever it is you've been doing, the new thought pattern or the new behavior pattern, becomes your natural way of being. And that is how we create long-lasting change and intrinsic change for people. So it's my responsibility, or whoever's responsibility that's facilitating, to make sure that your people have got those little actions that they can take. Okay, so this is basically the result of what you can get when you understand how the brain works, when you leverage how it works, so that you can create this change. On the, I don't know what side, the pink side, I'm not sure if you're mirrored, so I can't say left or right. You can see that when you're not getting to this depth, then that's when you tend to be more stressed, overwhelmed, have a foggy head, not be able to think clearly, be way more reactive, not be able to make decisions as clearly. That's when the imposter and the inner critic loves to show up. And then physically, you're more tired, anxious, have erratic moods, problems controlling your weight, poor digestion, low libido. You can get sick more regularly. And then, mentally, you're more unhappy, disengaged, and unsatisfied. Whereas on the other side, when you can learn how to leverage the way that your brain works, that's when you can have a more general sense of calm, of confidence, more motivated, focused, proactive, authentic. You don't need me to read the slide. You can see everything there. Physically, everything tends to work much better as well. Look, I'm not saying it eliminates physical issues, but it certainly helps to mitigate unnecessary ones. And once you can get rid of those, then you can start to understand if there is something physiological that needs to be attended to as well. And then, of course, happy, content, engaged, and all that good stuff that we're striving for, right? So this is how I approach things. Now, For me, I alluded to it before, the ultimate goal that I want everyone and anyone that I kind of work with to achieve or to be working towards achieving is to be themselves. So that's what UPPY stands for. UPPY is you, the real you, and nothing but the real you. And so, as I said before, when we were talking about this need to prove ourselves, once we can operate as ourselves, regardless of opposing influences, be them external or our own internal ones, that's when we can let go of this need to prove ourselves, let go of a lot of the thoughts and worries that are driving our unnecessary thoughts, our unnecessary behaviors, driving the stress response, and all that stuff that comes with it. So really, it's about having the confidence to just be yourself. So I tend to look at 6 different areas which I believe are important for people to achieve this. So we've got clarity. So I find quite a lot of people don't actually truly know who they really are and what it is that they really want and where they want to go in their life and their career. So getting clear on that is really important because you can give your brain parameters for it to work towards, which gives it certainty, which communicates safety to your brain. Obviously, we've got the calm component. So understanding, first of all, how to calm the brain so it stops triggering the stress response, but then also how to physically calm it down. Then we've got connection. So this is more important than ever right now after COVID and all the flexible working conditions that we've got going on at the moment. It's really important to help people have the confidence to connect with people truly. And the only way you can do that is to be yourself. So you let down all those barriers. But then having some physical strategies around how can they get this sense of connection, whether it's with work, whether it's with home, whether it's with themselves, so that that's actually feeding this fundamental human need. Then we look at communication. So there's 2 arms to this: communication with ourselves. So again, this is probably the most critical. So we want to be able to understand how to better communicate with ourselves so that we're not communicating danger to our brain and not triggering all these responses. So that involves bringing out the inner advocate, as I call it, rather than the inner critic. And then, of course, communication with others. So it's important that we're able to communicate who we are. We're able to communicate, to set boundaries so that we can stay true to that and be able to, play to our strengths and achieve what we want. It's important to communicate well with our loved ones so we can connect and, bring them on the journey. With our team members, if we've got team members and we're leaders, critical part that is in allowing you to stay true to who you are and therefore leverage all this stuff that we're talking about. And then we've got curiosity. So this is just around asking questions and really expanding your critical thinking and your creative thinking, rather than just kind of walking or going about life with the blinkers on, expanding it, which has many benefits for mental health, for creativity, for innovation, and for satisfaction, actually. And then conditions. So it's really important that, yes, mostly we've been talking about the inner conditions of our brain and our physical bodies, but also the external conditions. And again, this is really important with all the flexible work that we've got going on at the moment or trying to figure out at the moment. So just helping people understand, what do I need around me or what do I not need around me in order to be able to work effectively, in order to be able to be myself, in order to play to my strengths. So that's another component, is just helping people understand and facilitate that. I've lost my cursor. There it is. So this is how I facilitate all of these things, excuse me. So workshops, coaching, speaking, emceeing, that all speaks for itself, pun intended. And this is how I roll with all of that. So I am all about experiential learning. So I know that I'm just sat here talking at you today, but that's because I just want to get info over to you, and then we can talk more after if you'd like to. But when I do work with people, we do a lot of activities, not cringy team building activities, but activities that really allow people to experience what it is that we're talking about. So allowing them to experience the fight or flight mode, to experience how their thoughts affect their physiology, and really making it a very interactive experience. Then, of course, the practical actions, which I've already spoken about. And fun, really important for me to be able to have fun. That's one of my core values. But I also believe it's important for everyone else to have fun. They're more engaged, they're more comfortable, their brain feels safer, so they're more willing to open up and take in whatever it is that they need to take in. And so these are some of the core topics, I suppose, that I talk about. So stress management, work-life balance, confidence, presenting, resilience, communication, creative thinking, and then leadership and entrepreneurship. And these are just some of my popular talks, topics, coaching programs, just so you can get a feel for it. I will send you in a follow-up email just a link to my brochure so you can read a bit more about it. But just to give you a little insight, so one of our popular coaching programs is for new leaders, because it's incredibly overwhelming if you've not led people before. And so it's really important to really get the brain on board, to be able to have that confidence, to be able to be authentic, to be able to keep motivated, to have clear thinking, to stay logical and stay proactive, to then be able to give that to the rest of the teams. So I run a 12-week coaching program that really helps new leaders get these foundations, understand the brain, unpack some stuff if they need to unpack it, and then learn how to communicate effectively and be able to really translate that into their workplace. We've got the Going for Gold quarterly sessions. So that's all around that clarity piece that I spoke about in my model. And that's just bringing together the teams to understand, hey, am I achieving what I want personally? Because if I'm doing that, then I'm going to be more motivated to achieve what I want to achieve professionally. And what's the company trying to achieve? What are we trying to achieve as a group? So it's bringing those individuals and those group goals together, and then setting goals or upskilling to make sure that for the next quarter, you can go forth and dominate. And then I've obviously got a big talk or workshops around stress, how to optimize the physical and mental well-being. So a lot of what I've kind of sort of skirted on today. Steal the show. So this is around confidence and being able to present, whether that is in front of an audience, or this works very well for sales teams and having the confidence to have those conversations, customer service teams. The Fire That Freed Me, that's my signature talk. That talks about my story when my gym, my previous business a few years ago, burnt to the ground, and I burnt out. So that's how I personally know so much about all of this. And then, other ones around unlocking these different elements of the brain to be innovative, to be creative, well-being, confidence, all those things I've spoken about. These are some people that I've worked with. These are some things that I've been featured in, and that's it. So I know I've powered through that, but as I said, I didn't want to take too much of your time. I hope that I've just been able to give you a few more insights into what is possible with your team developments, where I believe we should be working, what level we should be working at with our teams individually, so that they can enhance their performance and their well-being personally, and then be able to flourish professionally as well. So look, first of all, does anyone have any questions for me right now? You can pop them in the chat box, or you can even, I think you can put your hand up actually if you wanted to come on live, or you can say in the chat you want to come on and then come on. I don't know, whichever you prefer. So please take the time now to ask me any questions should you want to. Otherwise, you've got a link there in the chat and on the PowerPoint directly to my calendar. So you're welcome to just book in a chat with me, and we can talk about what's going on with your team. What is it that you want to achieve? Do you have any new leaders? Whatever. And I can just give you some more specific advice around what I think would be beneficial, whether that's me or not. I'm more than happy to just talk a bit of strategy and advice with you on that. Or you can email me if you don't want to jump into the calendar. I'm waffling now. Anyway, so I haven't got any questions come through, so I can only assume that I have covered everything. But if there are any questions, feel free to email me, shoot me a LinkedIn message, whatever, or just pop in and grab a time in my calendar. So I think that'll do us. I appreciate again all of you popping on, giving me your time. And look, thank you, Summer. Thank you. Nice to see you. Yeah, look, hopefully I'll chat to some of you soon. All right. Have a fabulous rest of the week. Ciao for now.